before any of you, start rolling your eyes, we're going to be talking about Johnny Somali. I know he's the scumbag extraordinaire. He's the guy, the nuisance streamer in South Korea. He's an American, but he's the one that inspired all these other. I'm not even call them dime store or Dollar Tree or any of these ripoffs. What they are is scumbag pieces of crap, criminal nuisance streamers who go to Japan, South Korea, the Philippines. Well, probably no one's going to go to the Philippines now after what happened to Vitaly, and Thailand, who go there to just to harass people, bully people, and overall just do really scumbag things. Okay, from disrupting businesses, potentially giving venereal diseases to women, and just overall being very inappropriate around elders and children. And we've seen these scumbag nuisance streamers, and Johnny Somali, you know what? Hey, he might as well own it. He's the #1 scumbag extraordinaire. Now, while he was in South Korea especially last year in the early stages before for the whole legal process was taking place, he couldn't leave the country, but he kept on insulting the South Korean people, as well as the comfort women statues. Now, a heroic person, a South Korean Navy SEAL. And already looking at this dude, look, I could read power levels. He's somebody that I wouldn't want to piss off. He's somebody that I would want to be on very good terms with. And as one serviceman to another, he decided to step up and confront Johnny Somali by punching him. And the thing is, we have to remember the internet doesn't forget. The internet doesn't forgive. So the day before, Dalgoon punched Johnny Somali. Johnny Somali, I know it's an ugly face here, made this threat and challenged him to come find him.
Tomorrow, I'm outside for Halloween. Come catch me. I'm outside tomorrow. Come find me.
Hey.
Now, I want to be clear while I'm playing this video, YouTube, that this is a video that is showing what took place last year when Johnny Somali systematically challenged Dalgoon to come find him, and Dalgoon responds to him with a KO punch.
소말리. 어디가?
어디가?
어?
어디가?
어디가?
Oh, don't touch my shoe.
어디가?
Don't touch me, nigga.
어?
Huh?
소말리 어디가?
Yes, sir.
어디 가냐고?
You guys calling me crazy. Listen
야,
to you.
어디가?
어디가? What you mean? 어디가?
어디가?
What is 어디가? Oh.
And he proceeds to punch him, to which Johnny is down on the ground right there, knocked out. And the thing is, unfortunately, what happened is that this person, Dalgoon, was charged. All right. Now, many of you might be wondering, oh no, Kit, what happened? Is he have to give money to Johnny Somali? The answer is no. No monies, but he was charged. A YouTuber who was part of the South Korean Special Forces. Again, the South Korean Special Forces don't mess around here, okay? They are some hard chargers, okay? Super tough guys, and they got my respect. Has been fined after he filmed himself KOing Johnny Somali. In 2024, last year, streamer Johnny Somali, real name Ramzi Khalid Ishmael, aka Cabbage Guy, began causing controversy in South Korea. The American sparked drama by dancing inappropriately with the Statue of Peace, which is the comfort women statues, which is the remembrance of what the Imperial Army of Japan did to the women of Korea when it was occupied by the Empire of Japan. It's a very horrific story. Making a mess in a 7-Eleven, delaying public transit, and other stunts. You do not delay trains in South Korea or buses in South Korea. Same thing in Japan. Okay, that is a very, very serious thing here. This isn't like America. Many locals in the country were quickly growing fed up with Somali's antics and took matters into their own hands by stream sniping him and confronting him in the street. Back in October, YouTuber Dalgoon Yu, a former underwater demolition Team SEAL soldier, took it upon himself to teach Johnny Somali a lesson. Unfortunately for Dalgoon, he's punished for his behavior. What happened? Well, he was charged $7,000. That's 10 million won. Now, Dalgoon, he asked people for help by donating to his PayPal. Well, in my opinion, I think these nuisance streamers, these criminal streamers, on Kick, on Twitch, on YouTube who go to these countries, the privilege of going to these countries, are scumbags. I think what Dalgoon did was he defended his country's honor. All right. If I'm going to go to South Korea, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to respect the people, the culture, the food, the music, everything. And I'm going to enjoy my time there because guess what? It's called a vacation. Same thing if I go to anywhere or if I go to somebody's house. Guess what? I give them the respect that they are due. But unfortunately, the internet rewards bad people. Now, when this news did break out, Johnny Somali was dancing up and down. Him and his boy toy Hank. They were happy that something happened to Dalgoon. Well, here's where the internet comes in. The internet said, no. The internet said, we will help you. And so Dalgoon, the hero, in my opinion, I think he's a hero. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a great guy. A miracle happened. And he won big. And I love it when people succeed. So I want to play this video. This is from Legal Mindset. Now, I'm going to maybe interrupt halfway through, just give my thoughts on it. But Legal Mindset has been one of the dauntless few pushing forward and talking about and covering this subject. I encourage every one of you to please follow his content. He has been the spear point in calling out these nuisance streamers, and he has my salute and respect because when all this was happening, he was one of the first ones on the scene to say stop. So shout out to Legal Mindset. Please follow him.
We have Yu Dalgoon. Now, some of you may know Yu Dalgoon. He, of course, is the UDT member, which is a member of the Korean version of the Navy SEALs, Yu Dalgoon. I did an interview with him. He's an awesome guy, great guy. We are still in contact with him. I'm still up to date with him. And I have been the kind of go-to contact there to get information from Western content creators to Korea and to Korean content creators, including Yu Dalgoon. And that kind of played out today in a very interesting manner. And I want to talk about that today because no one has really talked about what came through and some awesomeness in the case of Yu Dalgoon. So in case you guys don't know, Johnny Somali challenged and provoked Yu Dalgoon to come find him and catch him and come after him. And in case you haven't seen the clip, we'll play it right here. This is, of course, Johnny challenging Yu Dalgoon back in the day. This is a while ago, but challenging him to come and find him. Watch this.
Dong Day Moon, come, Dong Day Moon, come, Dong Day Moon, come to Dong Day Moon, come, come, Dong Day Moon, come, nigga.
Yo, please.
That whole world laughed that day.
He found out really quickly that he indeed did come and did indeed punch him in the face. So he was charged for that. He was charged for that criminally. He was charged for the actual assault, right? So that was a charge that came against him. He also was charged with stalking of Hank and of Somali. So Dalgoon did face criminal charges. And I knew this when I interviewed him. And there's a lot of stuff I left off the table because I knew that charges were pending and charges would come after him. Now, a lot of people are asking, why was he charged? Well, there's a lot of reasons. Number one, you can't make exceptions in the system. You have to lay these things out and deal with them uniformly. That's one thing. Another thing is the discouraging of vigilante justice. Obviously, they don't want to have folks going out there and engaging in vigilante justice. So there's some sort of interest in that in the system. But we now have a relative conclusion to that saga. So Dalgoon was facing around 10 million won. It's about 7,000 USD in penalties, right? So that is in penalties to the government he had to pay. Now, $7,000 to the government, not to Johnny Somali, not to Hank, not to anybody else, to the government. It goes straight to the government. They don't get a dime of it. None of that goes into the criminal case towards Johnny or Hank or anybody else. It goes straight there. So here's what happened. And some people said, let's fund it. It's already done. It's already done. So here's what ended up happening. What ended up happening was some messages went out there, and I'm going to pull this one out here. And this is, I believe, the Deserto post. Let me get this one here. Which says, I just did what I had to do as a Korean citizen. Korean Navy SEAL YouTuber fined up to $7,000 after attacking. This was a little premature because at the time he had only really been fined about $2,000 roughly, and the rest of the $5,000 was pending. But that said, it was predicted to come in at that amount. And a American YouTuber, some of you guys may know him, Donut Operator, said, I will pay that fine for him. So Donut Operator.
So first of all, shout out to Donut Operator. He is a large YouTuber and content creator who did the right thing.
Came through and he contacted me and he said, how much is left on that fine? Because he had put up a PayPal. I showed it on my channel. Other people showed it. Dalgoon put up a PayPal and he said, give me donation. So he had already collected about $2,500–3,000 worth. So out of that $7,000, he already had about $3,000. So when I talked to Donut and I told Donut this, I'm like, hey, look, he's already got about $3,000. He came through and he dropped the other $4,000 to you, Dalgoon, right? Dropped it on him. So boom, shakalaka, Dalgoon gets the cash he needs to fully pay off the government. Massive, massive, massive W. And
this is a huge win, a heroic win, an outstanding win. And frankly, as far as I'm concerned, this saves the day.
This is something that Somali was cackling about. He was laughing about. He was like, ha ha, he's got to pay money for this. Him and Hank were, having a grand old time in Hanky Poo's apartment. And of course, I put out this tweet. Big thanks to Donut Operator for covering the fines imposed for delivering a punch to Ramsey Khalid Ismail for his insults to the Statue of Peace, Korean people, and attacks on women and children, which are going to become more relevant later. So in this case, that is now handled. That is now his criminal case is completely handled. And once again, this is an example of turning something that was supposed to be a Somali W. Somali was parading around. He was dancing around in his boxer shorts, with Hank, doing a striptease. And he was having a grand old time thinking that he'd sunk Dalgoon. This was the end of Dalgoon's life. It has not impacted him at all. In fact, Dalgoon has said, if he collects more money, because he's likely with other donations to collect a little bit more, he said he will either do one of two things. He will put it towards towards a charity, or put it towards his civil suit. Now I'm going to explain this because this is actually very important. So Dalgoon had to pay this, and obviously it's the win for Dalgoon because he doesn't have to pay anything. It's all covered. But Hank and Johnny are threatening to file a civil lawsuit against Dalgoon.
Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is because, first of all, Hank and Johnny have been threatening to go after everyone who's been talking about them, covering them on social media. This is what you call people who have too much free time on their hands. This is what you call people who are downright evil and just want to cause pain and suffering and torture. You see, Hank and Johnny, they're the bullies. They think they could get away with it. And right now, look, Hank and Johnny are dancing, getting drunk, looking stupid, acting like clowns on social media. And I understand that there's a lot of people that don't like this kind of story or covering it. This is something different for Hardlands Media. But the thing is, we got to shine a light on these nuisance streamers because, unfortunately, their contribution to the online community is, and this is something how I feel, in my opinion, it's going to lead to an increase of more censorship and suppression. These people are not fighters of free speech. Johnny Somali and his boyfriend Hank, however, whatever their relationship is, they don't offer anything to the conversation. They only offer nuisance and criminal live streaming. They only offer pain. They only offer annoyance, and they're going to cause more suffering, and it's going to impact the rest of us content creators who do good work. And it's really up to Kick and Twitch and YouTube to stop promoting these scumbag people who have a track record of doing these bad things, who cause pain and suffering, who cause annoyance. And yes, we have to step up to this. And so now Hank and Johnny are threatening to file a civil lawsuit against Dalgoon. Now, I'm going to say this. I have no problem with what Dalgoon did, in my opinion. Okay? In my opinion, I think Dalgoon did the right thing. Now, do you want to go up and punch somebody like Johnny Somali? Yeah, he has a face that's begging for it. He does. He's a piece of crap. He is a piece of shite. And now he has to face off against this. But don't worry, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Which means the criminal case is done, and now Hank and Johnny are saying, we're going to file a civil lawsuit because Hank will sue anything. Hank will sue like a fly for landing on his shoulder. So he's threatened a civil lawsuit. Now, here's the interesting thing about a civil lawsuit and why this is not going to be the W that people think it is. So here's the thing. A civil lawsuit in Korea requires a massive deposit. So you've got to pay the deposit. More than that, you've got to pay your own attorney's fees. So you don't get attorney fee recovery in a civil lawsuit. You've got to pay your own fees. Mind you, Johnny is broke. So where is Johnny going to find money for a massive deposit and on top of that to pay his own lawyer? This is not there's no public defender for a civil lawsuit. So he's going to have to pay his own lawyer. He's going to have to leave a huge deposit. And here's the kicker. Here's the real W. Here's the best part. Dalgoon can just ignore it. In Korea, and in many other places, but in Korea, there's no requirement that you pay the civil judgment. So actually, Dalgoon can just take a small hit to his credit. And mind you, he's actually already bought all the assets he needs. He's got a car, he's got a house, he's got everything else he needs. So he could go out and just say, F you to Johnny Somali and Hank and not pay a dime. And not pay a dime. You know, he's never going to be forced to transfer any money to Johnny Somali, even if he went and won his civil lawsuit.
And that's a win. So I want to end this here with the screenshot of Donut Operator paying the fine. Y'all thought I was joking. Shout out again to Donut Operator. The good news is that Dalgoon is not getting any jail time, something that was originally feared after the assault happened. I do want to acknowledge this here. He shouldn't have done it in front of the cops. That was dumb. You know, you're right, but I'm just going to say this. It's internet pure gold. And at this point, he got lucky. That's fine. Dalgoon doesn't have to worry about it, and it's good. At the same time, the same might not go for Johnny Somali. However, the troublesome content creator has allegedly pled guilty in court to a couple of charges and is facing time behind bars for allegedly making deep fakes. Somali is also accused of many other crimes in the country, including threatening to spread HIV, violating anti-terrorism laws, and I'm saving this one, even though it's in the middle. This one you don't do in South Korea. Broadcasting North Korean propaganda. Listen, you don't do that in that country. All right. It's one of the many things you do not do because, you know, while the major fighting between the North and South is over, they still are rivals, competitors. They still have some hostility towards each other. And it's a hotbed of a lot of intensity and politics there. And the one thing you don't do, especially if you're in South Korea, is do that. And he's like the moron he is, live streaming on his new YouTube channel, which is supposedly Hank's. That's what he's doing. So the good news is that the internet helped Dalgoon. Dalgoon is going to be okay, and I think he's going to be fine. And whatever happens down the road, we here at Hardlands Media salute Dalgoon. We salute Legal Mindset and everyone else that's out there exposing these criminal scumbag nuisance streamers. The internet wins and they save the good person. And as for Johnny, his W is once again an L because it's always an L.